everyone, welcome to the Manchester MBA Voices. This is a podcast about people shaping the business world today and what led them to one of the most innovative cities in the world. I am your host, Ria Malik, and today I will be interviewing Armaan Rajdua, who is a branding and marketing professional at Netflix and IMDb, and also a full-time candidate at Alliance Manchester Business School. Now let's dive right into the interview. Hi Armaan, how are you?
I'm good, Ria. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Amazing. So, Armaan, for anyone who doesn't know you yet, could you tell us a little about yourself and where you come from and how you got here?
Hi, my name is Armaan. I am a media and marketing professional from India, from the city of Mumbai, which also happens to be the home of Bollywood, in case you've heard of it, which is like the Hindi movie industry. And I've had a career in media and marketing, which I think we'll speak a little bit more about. But um, my last role was I was heading marketing at IMDb in India, and I was looking to upskill to take my journey to the next step. And luckily, I had the opportunity to get a spot here at the Alliance Manchester Business School. So
Amazing.
yeah.
So, we've got a little chance to dig into your LinkedIn as well. So,
Oh,
we know your
okay.
entire journey. So, you've had quite a journey before MBA. And could you tell us a little about your time at the film sets and what drew you to the entertainment industry?
Okay, that's a great question. I did my undergrad at this college in Pune in India called Symbiosis Center for Media and Communication. And as a part of the curriculum, we had the opportunity to um, make movies and also like do a lot of internships, similar to how like the practical experiences weaved into the Alliance Manchester Business School pedagogy. So I had the opportunity to work on the second season of Netflix's first original series in India called Sacred Games, which was basically, I would say, a fully new era in Indian storytelling. And when I saw the first season, I was so enamored, and I was like, whatever this is, I want to try to be a part of it. So I had the opportunity. The team was very gracious to allow me to be a production assistant at on the sets of Sacred Games. And the way that it actually worked is it's actually very curious. So because the story is told through two main characters, led by two really big actors called Saif Ali Khan and Nawazuddin Siddiqui. You must have
Of
obviously
course, I
heard
know
of them.
them.
So the way that it worked is that both the directors had their own crews and their own sets running parallelly, and the story was actually merged together in the edit. So um, the reason why I'm telling you this is because I used to work with this director. Lovely man, lovely stories that he's told. His name is Neeraj Gaiwan. He's also made movies like Masan and a bunch of other more incredible stories. And so the way that it used to work is that I would spend 12 hours on his set, and because I was in college, I wanted to learn. I had that hunger. I would to the next set after that, which was directed by Anurag Kashyap, another leading Indian storyteller. I mean, global storyteller, I would say. And so there would be days that I'd run on like 2 hours of sleep because I just wanted to learn, and it was one of the most incredible experiences. And yeah, like as a consequence of that, I learned so much on set. And through my college degree at the time, we had to sort of make a degree film, and I was very drawn to this story of a postman in central India. This vision sort of came to me. I'm sounding like some oracle or something, but this is a story I wanted to tell, and I created this movie. It was a short film in this language called Marathi, a language I don't even speak, but this story was true to that space. And I went to make this film. It won a national award, and it went on to many other sort of film festivals around the world. So that was actually my last stint on a film set, but I would say it was so fulfilling that it actually steered my career after that.
Nice.
Yeah.
So as a child, I'm not sure if a lot of people know about this,
Yeah.
but I've always wanted to be an actor.
Amazing.
In the Bollywood movies.
Yeah.
Of course, reality hit.
Yeah. I think you can
It
totally
hits
do
everywhere.
it.
Oh, please.
I
No,
think you
Armaan.
can
No,
totally
no,
do
no,
it.
no.
Yeah.
But it's so good to know that you were on the sets,
Yeah.
and I hope I want one someday. And
Yeah.
just looking at this entire shooting that happened in the Bollywood sets.
Yeah.
But that being said, so you told us about your journey in the introduction. Could you you also talked about that you moved to Netflix and IMDb. So could you tell us more about your role there, your day-to-day activities that you had at Netflix and IMDb, and what did that experience actually teach you on how the entertainment industry really works?
This show that I worked on, which is Sacred Games, the second season, um, I went on to join this digital marketing agency right after I was done with college called The Glitch. And curiously enough, my first marketing project was actually that show. So it was a very funny like circle of events, and I obviously like was very comfortable with it because I knew the show inside out.
Yeah.
So it became a lot easier to market. And so at this agency, Glitch, we had won the retainer, which basically means that we work on the account of Netflix. And at that time, we had just launched like Netflix India's YouTube channel. And so I started from the ground up. And in the midst of incredible mentors, incredible peers. And so I did that for, I want to say, a little over a year. And then I was at a film set, and coincidentally, my client at the time, we had a conversation, and he just asked me that, do you want to come on board at Netflix? And curiously enough, like that was how the switch happened. And I went on to join Netflix and work on basically their YouTube channel, which I want to say was one of the most trailblazing sort of avenues for brand marketing. Like it was something unprecedented. Like it hadn't been done before at that scale. So the way that it was different was that it almost treated the YouTube channel as its own editorial platform. So if there are shows on or movies on Netflix, you'd almost create like a destination where these stories become like pop culture. Okay, so that was our vision, that we wanted to build the most definitive source of entertainment. And so I was there for, I think I did this for a total of a little over 3 years, I want to say. And then we built a lot of shows on the YouTube channel, a lot of these IPs, which is like a little bit of a buzzword in the marketing circle. But we did that, and then I realized that I want to look for my next challenge, and I had the opportunity to join IMDb at the time, which not a lot of people know as an Amazon company. It was one of the first acquisitions by Amazon. And my role was basically to head marketing. And this was the first time that IMDb was doing an international expansion. And so the country that they chose was India. And so my role was basically building the entire content presence from the ground up. So like right from the go-to-market strategy, how partnerships are going to happen, how we're going to work with the industry. So I want to say by the end of it, I think we did more than 1,500, 2,000 partnerships with like OTT platforms, like Netflix, Prime Video, etc. Worked with the biggest actors, and worked with production studios as well. And the cool thing is that because IMDb was a platform that cuts across geographies and languages, we had the opportunity to actually work with people from other industries. So even India's entertainment scene is very versatile, I want to say, because like there are 5 industries or 4 or 5 industries within India based on language and geography. So at IMDb, we had the opportunity to work across all, and we got so much love, so much support from the entire industry. So that was a great experience. So that's what I that's what I did. Yeah.
Nice. So you have lived a dream of many of us.
I
I mean,
was
for
lucky.
me,
Yeah.
I wish I could work with Netflix or IMDb, even on film sets. So, could you tell us about a very surreal moment or some memorable moment from your time at IMDb or Netflix? Something that you still remember and something that still sticks with you, and you tell people about those things. And
I think one memory comes to mind is when um so there's this Indian actor called Shah Rukh Khan
everybody knows Shah
who's
Rukh
like a
Khan.
global icon
Yes.
for people who don't know. Amazing filmography, um, amazing sort of choices in terms of films, s- career spanning decades. So he was releasing this film called Jawan, and
Yeah.
this was, I think, Shah Rukh Khan's year. He had Pathan releasing, Jawan releasing, and like there was so much love for his comeback per se. And at that time, for Jawan, we were in conversation with the production house, and incidentally, and we had obviously been building
Yeah.
this platform over a period of time, and um, we were able to secure a partnership for Jawan where we were the only platform that Shah Rukh Khan and his team chose to work with for the promotions of Jawan. And we hosted a new video series called Icons Only, where it became like the series where um, we would host the biggest names in the film industry, and he was the first one to do it, and obviously no better name to start
Wow.
it. So that was a surreal experience, that something you've been building for good 2 or 3 years is something that other people also see as, okay, this is a good platform. Obviously IMDb comes with a great legacy, great name, not much that we had to do, but it was a very humbling experience. So the second, there's one more actually experience that was quite interesting, is when so there's this another leading Indian actor called Hrithik Roshan, and he was helming and supporting this film called Pushteni with this actor called Vinod Rawat, who was also his acting coach at a time. And we had the opportunity with his team to actually shoot a little bit in his house in Mumbai, which is a beautiful place. And that conversation as well, watching it unfold, seeing these two people who they're so passionate about the craft, and even though they've been in this space for years, I think that was also a very surreal experience. And one of those moments that you can't believe that you're breathing the same air as them,
Yes.
something like that. So very fantastic. And I think that like experiences were like a dime a dozen. There's so many stories to recount, but these two just at this early morning in Manchester, these are the kind of stories that come to mind. Yeah.
Amazing. So I'll quickly segue into your AMBS journey now.
Yep.
So this creative environment, it clearly shaped how you're thinking today. So could you tell us about when you walked into AMBS? What was your biggest learning?
Oh, that's crazy. um I don't know if you felt this way, Ria, but you probably didn't, because you're very smart, but I'm not.
Please, Armaan.
So I'll tell you, I was actually very nervous before coming to AMBS, because I felt like, oh, there are people who come from, finance, come from very traditional, I don't know if traditional is the right word, but um, paths where an MBA is the logical next step.
Correct.
And I just felt like, oh no, is this, am I going to fit in? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because um like I think an MBA is also somewhere an atypical sort of path in my field. So I think that was something that I was like, okay, let's just do it. Let's see what happens. And I was a little nervous in the start before coming, because I was like, what if everyone speaks in a language that I just don't understand? And I think the way that the MBA is structured as well is that, and I learned this a little bit over time as like classes went along, etc., that it's built in a way to almost account for everyone, that people from atypical backgrounds, people from
Yes.
typical backgrounds. So I think that became a little bit of a comfort, because even if you see me, I'll be right at the front of the classroom, because I'm like,
Always.
with my little notebook and my pen, because I'm like, if I miss onto a word, I just won't understand, because everything's so new to me. So I think, I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah.
It does. For me, it was actually the exact same. Even though, like, I come from consulting background, and what we are doing right now is also consulting, but still, even for me, I was super nervous on day one. I was like, dude, there's going to be people who are going to be like super super smart, and people are coming from long experiences at consultancies, and like there are doctors in our cohort.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's so hard to compete in such a space. But I think we're doing well. I think we're
Yeah.
doing fine.
Yeah, I think you're doing great,
No,
honestly, because
both of us.
even like being a founder, I know about OPOP.
Yeah.
I think all the work that you're doing is fantastic, and yeah, I think you're killing it. So
Yeah. I think all of us are.
yeah, no,
AMBS
for
gives
sure.
you that kind of environment where you
It
just
really
kind of
does.
where you just kind of thrive, and
Yeah,
it gives you so many opportunities that you wouldn't really have
yeah,
otherwise.
yeah, for sure.
Amazing. So do you think that your background, it gave you any kind of edge over somebody who was from finance or consulting?
Um, that's an interesting one. I feel like the way that the MBA is set up at Alliance Manchester Business School is that obviously there's a lot of group work, right? And I think the groups are also structured in a way where you won't find two people of the same background, and I feel like that uniquely sets us up to solve these problems that we're set out to solve, where everyone brings a very unique perspective from their own sort of experience. So I felt like, for me, because I have spent a little bit of time trying to figure out how, say, audiences at scale react to things. I felt like that angle of storytelling, being able to figure that out, was what came most naturally to me. But at the same time, like if you come back, like if you see my space over here, like where I stay, it's like a little library where there are books on valuation, supply chain, things like that, because um, I'm just trying to bridge that gap and really try to absorb as much as I can in terms of everything I don't know. So what I've been thinking about is using that base of understanding these audiences and trying to also do finance, do
Yeah.
consulting work. So I think there is a little bit of difference with how I would approach a problem versus others, but I think that's part of the fun. I don't know how you feel about
Yeah,
this.
so for me, it's actually very similar. People from different backgrounds, and not just backgrounds, people from diverse nationalities are here. So you learn so much about how other people work. So I remember working with Masaya once. You know him. He's our
Yeah.
Japanese colleague,
Yeah.
and he's always so calm while working. Like, I haven't ever seen him being chaotic like I
Yeah.
am. So it's just very new to me to learn something like that from someone, right? So learning from not just different backgrounds, but from different nationalities and where they come from, I think that's an interesting experience that I have had in these group projects, right?
Yeah.
So
And I agree. Like, there's so much about like the softer skills as well.
yes,
How people react to situations. There's so much that you imbibe just by being in the same room. I agree with you.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, so a lot of learning experience
for
here,
sure, for
for
sure.
sure. So was there any moment at AMBS where you felt a little out of place, and if you could just tell me about that?
Um, I think I think the way that I think about it is that a lot of the feelings of being out of place were somewhere self-inflicted. Like, I would think in my mind, okay, like how the typical imposter syndrome, where you'd be like, how can I be in this room? Like, I'm so random, like in this space, but I think, like like studying things like corporate finance, which I've grown to love, absolutely love, uh, were things that initially I was like, this is so out of depth for me, something that I've never done before. And the level expectation over here is also so high. Um, Initially, I felt like, okay, I'm a little um, out of place. Maybe, I'm not cut out for this. But I think it's just a function of how much time you spend with it. And the more time I spent with it, I felt like the more fluency I could develop. And the way that I think about it is that actually one of my managers told me this at one point of time, is that try to be a first principles thinker. So the way that I try to approach it, obviously I'm not perfect, but the way that I try to approach it is that how can I break this down into the simplest core components? And one of our professor, Reza, says this, that what is the big picture?
Yes.
Try to understand the big picture and then sort of work your way upward. So I think even being able to exercise that skill is something that, like, the AMBS fosters. The AMBS MBA fosters the perfect environment for. Yeah,
That's actually true. And all these classes that I've been in, especially Reza's class,
amazing. Yeah,
amazing classes. Even coming from a conventional background,
Yeah.
like you said,
yeah,
this is new to me. I
yeah,
mean, he always says that your grandma probably knows all of it.
yeah.
But no, I mean, there are some concepts that I probably didn't know. Like I've never used that in practicality,
Yeah.
but now seeing all those case studies here,
Yeah,
it's amazing. I love this class,
yeah,
honestly.
and I think for everyone's context, for people who aren't in our cohort or haven't been experienced this amazing MBA, Reza is a strategy and competition professor who, man, like, I didn't imagine strategy from the approach that, like, obviously we've all done a lot of strategic work throughout our careers, but being able to think of it from the dimensions of competition and how you are actually, through the things you do, you also affect the competition to think a certain way. I think he is so passionate about how he teaches, and it's honestly been one of the highlights for me. I don't know.
Totally agree.
Yeah,
Even for me.
it's absolutely amazing, and the amount of effort that Reza puts into his classes, and going the extra mile to include a lot of case studies, include these weekly tests that we do, just to ensure that we are retaining everything. So great, 10 out of 10 experience, 11 out of 10 fantastic. Reza's
I know.
amazing.
Same. Okay, so moving on to
Yeah.
one of the hot topics of today,
Okay.
AI, right?
Yes.
And so AI is reshaping both. It's not just the creative world, but the corporate world as well. So as someone who has lived in both, what do you think AI gets right about creativity, and what does it completely miss?
So this is something I think a lot about, and AI is evolving at a rate that it's so hard to keep up sometimes. But and I was talking to a few friends about this the other day, that I think that what AI in its current state gets really well is pattern recognition. Like, if, for example, you were to give it information and tell it to sort of derive insights from it, I think it's amazing at that, right? And coincidentally, even the entertainment world and the media world, it's really data driven. Very, like, you wouldn't intuitively imagine that the amount of data that we work with to basically be able to consolidate how cohorts and big groups of customers and audiences work. So I think AI is fantastic at that, but in its current state, I feel like what makes us truly human is when we are able to correlate unrelated things and create sense out of it. Okay, like, I'll give you an example. That, for example, when creating inventions or discoveries for, say, physics, there are mathematical concepts that come into play. Similarly with chemistry, right? So these are correlations and connections that the human mind is able to imagine and think of. I feel like that is what makes us truly human. That, say for example, if I were to look at media and entertainment from a finance perspective, it only works when I have a little bit of context of both, right? So, but if you were to tell AI in its current state that, okay, give me an analysis of this media project, whatever it is, it'll tell you from a very media perspective. So I think that's what makes us, I'll probably be eating my words in the next 6 months when AI evolves and can do this as well. But I think that's what makes us uniquely human. And I think these are the people who are able to understand those first principles and really be able to make those lateral connections where others may not see them and create value in those spaces. I think are the ones that are going to win in the AI space. Is the way that I think about it.
And I was also reading this one post on LinkedIn, like somebody posted that when internet came, there was a lot of skepticism around it that, it's going to take off jobs and there's going to be a lot of layoffs, right? But people had literally adapted to it and it worked in favor of people. And that's how it's going to be with AI also. If you adapt to it, you're going to actually excel in it and there's not going to be any layoffs. That's what I think. It's very important to integrate AI into your work now, just to make your life a little bit easier.
No, that's true. I'm a little bit skeptical though, like with how AI is evolving, because I think it's such a unique thing in today's day and age, because I feel like every other tool that you look at, like for example, a calculator, you look at a typewriter, you look at the internet, to some extent, these were one-way tools. Like you'd put in information, it would give you a result, and then you go ahead and make the decision. With AI, the lines are a little blurred. With, like there are these agents and bots that people built that actually go ahead and do things for them. So it's a very uncharted territory. I would say that hopefully, like I want to say that people in jobs will figure out a way to evolve. And I think that's the core skill set, that being able to be malleable and agile enough to be able to evolve is the core skill set. But yeah, I think in the current state, I agree with you that being able to integrate AI in learning faster, doing faster seems like the best alternative, amongst everything that's going on. Yeah.
Amazing. But I think we can talk about AI for days.
I agree. I love this topic.
There's so much to talk about.
All of it. I love this topic. Yeah.
I know. Most fun segment of this podcast. It's called the coffee quiz.
Oh, no.
I'm going to throw 3 questions at you, which is related to Manchester. You should essentially know.
I should know. Oh no, that's too much pressure. Oh my god.
So if you get it wrong, you'll have to drink 1 coffee shot.
Oh man, I don't drink coffee, Ria, but
so it's a punishment.
It's more of a punishment.
It's supposed to be a punishment.
Oh, man.
Okay.
I'm wondering, couldn't this be like Coca-Cola shots or something? But it's okay. Yeah.
So the first question is, which 2 legendary bands both came from Manchester? Choice A, it's Oasis and the Smiths. B, Coldplay and Radiohead. C, Arctic Monkeys and Blur. D, the Beatles and Led Zeppelin.
Crazy. I think it's A.
Of course.
Oasis and the Smiths.
You love music and football.
I mean,
this city is all about music and football.
And I grew up listening to quite a bit of the Oasis and the Smiths. And we actually have a batchmate here. His name is James. Also plays the guitar fantastically. For those who don't know, please try to get him to serenade you and sing a little song. He's a big fan of the Oasis and the Smiths. So we've been having a little bit of a band practice where we're playing at the MBAT, and we've been listening to a lot of Oasis and Smiths from him. So it's fantastic. Sorry. Story.
Yeah, so second question.
Okay.
This is about football, so I'm sure you'll be able to ace it. So Manchester United and Manchester City face each other in a local derby. What is it called?
We call it the Manchester Derby. So I don't know.
That's right.
Yeah, the Manchester Derby. Yeah.
So question 3.
Yeah.
What do Manchester locals call a typical grey, drizzly day?
Oh man.
So I'm not going to give you the options for this. Just try to guess once.
Oh man.
I want to listen to the most silliest things that you're gonna say.
and I've heard the craziest little catchphrases. It's really a language in itself. And I don't know. Is it? I learned this phrase, okay, from our batchmate Tom, who's also a local, called bogey butties, which is like these bad sandwiches, and it's like this is so terrible. And if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments, Tom. But yeah, I don't know. I have no clue. I know it'll be something so out there.
So I'll give you the options, okay?
Oh, there are options. Amazing.
Yeah. So what do Manchester locals call a typical grey drizzly day? Options are a shower, B, mizzle,
okay,
C, Mancunian sunshine, D, just another Tuesday.
Oh man, it's either between C or D because
that's right. I mean,
it's like when there's sunshine, there's also rain within like 6 seconds apart.
I know.
And I don't know. I'll go with D.
It's either C or D.
It's either C or D. Okay.
Exactly. So it's essentially C, Mancunian sunshine.
Yeah.
But it's D also. Like people say just another Tuesday, and like it just keeps on happening. And
like I heard about Manchester rains before coming, and I was like, I come from Mumbai. How bad can it be? Little did I know. It's really like it doesn't take much for it to start raining.
No, but Mumbai, like it just floods.
Yeah. But there's a typical season.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Over here, the season is every 3 minutes. It's like it's quite nuts that way. Yeah.
Amazing. So we are coming to the end of this podcast, and I'd like to know from you, and in the last, that there's someone from a non-traditional background who's sitting at home contemplating whether the MBA is for them, right? So what do you want to tell them?
Oh, this is my motivational speaker moment.
Yeah, the takeaway.
Yeah. So I think first, being able to frame it that I don't think there's anything as a non-traditional background. Okay, because what we're learning in the MBA is essentially how firms and corporations create value, right? And I think that's true to any sort of profession that you look at. Sure, there might be some that are more closer to it, but at the end of the day, I think most organizations are looking to create value. So what I would say, and I firmly believe in this, is that something like the MBA is truly a transformatory experience. But I think the most value can be derived once there's a significant amount of life experience to sit underneath it. And I'll tell you why. Because, say, for example, when I sit in the classes and when we're learning about these case studies, these frameworks, and this is the way I look at MBA. It's like you create a little satchel and a little backpack of like multiple frameworks. Frameworks are just ways of thinking, right? So the way I think about it is that for those frameworks to stick, if you have a little experience to back it up, it'll just land a little better, Otherwise, there might be so much that you learn or so much you listen to, so much you experience, which just isn't relatable. So I would say that firstly, question whether your background is truly atypical. And secondly is to get a little bit of experience so that this is meaningful. Because I think what the MBA teaches you is to truly think at a leadership, C-suite level, right? And even higher than that. I feel like to be able to reach that level of thinking and be at that place mentally, climbing those rungs is a little helpful, So
you put it so well together, and I completely agree with what you have said about the business frameworks and the satchel. I love that. I love that example.
Yeah, and I also look at it as another analogy. Like I like to think of as I'm an analogy guy, but but the way I like to think about it is like you're almost like a DJ. Like you're picking. Okay, this CD will be something I should play now. Then you'd go, okay, in this situation, and so like it's a collection of frameworks.
Yeah.
And I think any body of knowledge is just a collection of frameworks. And yeah, this is my DJ. This is
I think that's a wrap for today's episode.
Amazing.
Thank you so much, Armaan.
It was
for being
great talking
here.
to you. Thank you.
And all the insights that you have shared. And I'm sure a lot of people who are sitting at home who will be watching this and planning to join MBA would be so inspired by you and your
Thank you.
journey.
That's very kind.
And amazing. Just thank you so much, Armaan, for being here. And make sure you follow Armaan on LinkedIn. Thank you, guys.
That's where
Go for it.
That's where
and
I
we will
live.
see you next time.
Yeah, thank you. See
Thank you.